Sims. I'm the co-chair of the Allendale Neighborhood Association, and if this election turns out badly, I'm going to be the chair, so I'm not saying... or if it turns out badly, I'm in for another year if the vice chair gets elected. I'm going to try and keep things very tight in timing tonight because we have a lot of people here, each of whom has things you want to hear them say. So to start with, I'm going to ask Peter Bulthuis, who's the principal of Unity, to say a word, just because we are very grateful every time for Unity's giving us this place as a hall.
It's great to have you here, candidates. Welcome. It's nice to see almost more than a baseball team here. So that's kind of cool. We enjoy very much being host to the ANA regularly, and we just love being in Allendale. It's really the best part of Barrie. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. So thanks for coming, and having said that, I have to scoot. But it's great to see you here. God's richest blessing on you as you listen, as you speak, and as you decide in a month and a bit. Thanks very much. Good.
There are a few chairs over there if anybody's feeling the need to sit down. It's going to go for a fair while tonight, and you might be happier sitting. A quick word about the schedule. It's going to take about an hour for each of the candidates to make his initial or her initial presentation. And, well, there is no pronoun for both. So at the end of that, that'll be close to 8 o'clock. So we're going to invite you then to stand up and walk around for just 5 minutes so that if it's warm in here and you've fallen asleep, you'll be able to, we'll see that because you will be not standing up. So you'll have 5 minutes to stand up and walk around. Then we'll set into the prepared questions, which the candidates have seen, and then we will invite you to ask questions from the floor for specific candidates, and then finally we'll give them each a minute to say something in summary.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for having me here. My name is David Edwards, and I want to be your councillor for Ward 8. I moved to Barrie 16 years ago. I met my wife here. I've had 4 children here, all of whom were born at the early age. And I've started a small business here. I'm an ex-Canadian Forces member, so service is not something I don't understand, and I learned a lot of team building skills through that. I want to put this to work for you. We have a fair number of issues in the Allendale area. And of course, I do live 2 blocks outside of Ward 8 for those people that are asking because they want to know. Some of the issues that I feel that we have coming up are our children's safety and speed. Recently, 2 people died in Barrie area due to people that were hit by cars. It was a terrible thing, and all it takes is just one accident. One is too many. There's a lot of other things I'd like to do. I'd like to bring in jobs. I can't whistle up jobs, but I can ask companies that if we're going to give incentives to them to come here, that they hire people from there. Unlike some of the big name companies that hire nobody from the city. That's just unfair to us. My brain fell apart. In all of this, I'm younger than everybody else here at the table. It may seem very much with a lack of experience, but I have the energy to run around and get stuff done. I do, in the brain. So, all of this, and I would like to actually work on a cap, especially with our taxes and our water taxes. Our water taxes are going up. Many of you may not know that the City Council is looking at a 13% increase to our water and a 19% increase in our sewer bills. Essentially 32% that many of us can't afford.
Can't hear you.
I'm sorry, is this better?
That's better. That's way better.
Okay, now would you like me to do it again?
No.
Well, but I want to be your counselor and I want to work for it. My children were born here. I want them to be proud of the city that they live in. I want them to be able to walk around and say, I'm from Barrie, because they're going to travel all over Canada, and I want them to return back with many fond memories of Barrie. I will work hard for you, because working hard for you means I'm working hard for them. My name is David Edwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, folks, for coming here and allowing us to share with you tonight. About a week ago at the Rogers debate, I said to folks that I want to be your Ward 8 councillor because I think I bring the most qualifications to the table. So tonight I think I want to just go through that in more detail. I came to Barrie in 1984, and I've lived in this ward for years. My first 2 engineering jobs were in this ward. I'm raising my daughter here. My first apartment was in this ward. I worked 12 years in the manufacturing, high-tech automotive sector as a design engineering technologist and project manager. But what's most importantly is after that, I spent 11 years working for the federal government. I'm a strategic advisor and senior advisor for Public Works and Government Services Canada, which means I do all the planning for Ontario region within government. I do strategic planning, and I measure, and I make sure that taxpayers are getting performance for their money. Although as your counselor, and I also own a business. I began a business called Colin Wilson Consulting, and I encourage you to look at that business online, colinwilson.ca, not to sell you anything, but just so you'll have an idea of some of the capabilities and capacities I'll be bringing to the table. Although I'll be focused on some of the main questions with regards to infrastructure, public safety, and speeding in the ward, I also have a list of interest items that I'm interested in working on within the ward. I just want to list some of them. The development of the data center business cluster in the South End, organized community days, more family-oriented parks, i.e. beach volleyball courts, things that are cheap but keep the youth active. I'd love to eventually see skateboard parks, not to keep youth off the streets or out of trouble, but more in terms of allowing them to develop rich memories of this city so that they'll return, if one day they go to school, they'll return back to this city because they have fond memories here. I'm looking at job fairs and actually community-managed skating rinks, putting some of the volunteers from the Allendale Neighborhood Association together with the local fire department and creating ice rinks. I'd also like to strengthen the relationship between the Allendale Neighborhood Association and myself as your counselor, as an arm's length connection that could be strengthened. I also want to help Principal Belhuse develop the North End High School parking lot to serve community better. And I've been very, very busy over the last few years. Like I said earlier, I'm on 6 different board of directors, I said last week. I just want to list a few of them. Huronia Symphony Orchestra, the Barrie Community Health Center, the AIDS Committee of Simcoe County, the Barrie Fair Trade Working Group, and the city's Accessibility Advisory Committee. And last but not least, the Allendale Neighborhood Association, where I'm vice chair. So there you have it. I live in the ward. I bring the most government experience to the ward. And most importantly of all, I demonstrate on a daily basis my commitment to this community. So when making your decision, don't be fooled by charm. Don't be fooled by our suits. Look for someone who's active in the community and has demonstrated that, and not just during election period. But most of all, don't vote for us, vote for yourself. Thanks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Allendale Neighborhoods Association, and especially Bill for inviting us here this evening. My name is Herb Yetman, and I am your candidate for Ward 8 Councillor. I was gratified last week when the key theme of my opening statement was echoed by some of the other candidates on Rogers TV appearance. You see, as a communicator, and more importantly, as your representative to City Council, my main responsibility will be to represent your voice there. I could focus on issues such as bringing our transit system into the 21st century city that Barrie has become, or I could talk about the inadequate roads in the Ward South End, or the issue of adding sidewalks where people presently take their lives in their hands by straddling culverts and avoiding traffic on Bayview and Big Bay Point. But I only have 1 minute for this. So, while product manager at a mid-sized trust company, it was my privilege to craft the communications. And this is really the key of who I am, to craft the communications to both our branch people as well as to our customers. And as part of that privilege involved also communicating to my boss, of course, the VP. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this evening I appeal to you to become my boss by electing me to City Councilor for you, the people of Ward 8. Thank you.
Hi there. I'm not sure if you said Woodhouse, but I get White House, White Head, White Horse, White everything. So that's okay. I'm Debbie Clark Whitehouse. That's okay. I legally have not changed my name since I got married to my husband. So I've got my Clark name because I've lived in Barrie forever, so lots of people know me as Clark. And then I have taken his name because he was like, you have to take my name, please. So anyway, I've done that. That's why, you know, in the Examiner, someone wrote, pick a last name or get a divorce. So I'm like, okay, I have to address it. So there we go. Okay. Besides, like, I'm a kindergarten teacher, and I know a lot of people don't like teachers right now because of all the stuff going on, so we're not going to talk about that because that's a whole other issue right now. So, that being said, I just wanted to say that I think I have, besides everything else that these fine people are bringing to the table, I want to help, I want to be able, as your ward rep, to get the sidewalks fixed and get some lights put in and get all of those things done that I've heard as I've been walking around are the main issues. However, I just want to add something to the table because I think that it's missing, and that is the issue of kindness and helping people who need help. And I feel like I have a lot of experience in talking to parents that have really needy children. I worked at Andrew Hunter for 12 years, very needy environment. I find myself helping a lot of people, directing a lot of parents, because I'm their caregiver when I teach kindergarten. So anyway, that being said, I also think that, wait a minute. I think there's a need for mental and emotional support in the ward. I have been hearing from people that they're, like when I've been walking around, some people have parole issues, some people are on meth and are having kids and are having trouble raising those kids. And I think that we haven't discussed anything to do with mental or emotional support for people that need it. Some people are still waiting for rinks that have been promised to them from last year. Like, those are things that we obviously are not communicating very well and are not focusing on those kinds of issues. And we need to get those sort of, like, promises made and kept. So, I think we have to work on public safety and being a teacher. I know what they're teaching in the schools right now. We don't teach anything about police presence. There's hardly any police presence in the school system, in the public school system. We don't do any fire safety. We don't do any train safety. We don't do road safety anymore. When I was at Cundall's, we used to sit and watch all the trains go by on the big videos. We don't do anything like that, and I think that I could get that going again because we need that. And we need to go back to some things like that. And anyway, I'm not a politician, and I don't sound very professional, but I am professional, and I can do everything these people need, and that's the other thing. I really, really hate it when people say about me being not in the ward. I work at a Sickanack right now. I'm planning to be at a Sickanack for the next 10 to 12 to 20 years, till I retire. I didn't want to leave Andrew Hunter, but I had to because of some other things. Anyway, I needed a change. But my thing is that if you're having an issue, because I don't live in the ward, I live behind Terry Fox School because my parents live on Birchwood, and that's where I grew up for my whole life. And I just moved around the corner from them. But anyway, I lived in Allendale Rec Center for many winters. I know I'm rambling because my brother played hockey. So my dad was a coach for the rec team, and I was there every single weekend as a hockey sister. So I practically lived in this ward for my whole life. And I get just a bit upset because I was born in Barrie, raised in Barrie, and all of Barrie is for me. Like, I love all of Barrie, and I think as wards, We shouldn't be like all nitpicky about that. Oh, 15 seconds. And I think if I was the ward person, I would make door decorating contests. Contests between the wards. That would be so much fun. It would be cheap. It's like Christmas lights. Other cities do it. We gotta do that stuff. Stop. Bye.
Dear friends and neighbors, for the past 17 and a half years, Ward 8 has been my home. I've raised my children here, participated in school parent councils here, have played in neighborhood parks, shopped in neighborhood stores, and have enjoyed many great times with neighbors and residents of Ward 8. Why am I running for council? Because I care and because I can. I have the skills necessary to do the job, and I know how to get the job done. Yesterday, but most importantly, I know how to talk to people. Yesterday, while I was out campaigning, I knocked on a resident's door, and a woman answered. As I began to introduce myself, the woman's husband came up to the door and immediately said, "Don't know why you're running. You're not going to win," and named the candidate he was going to vote for. "Well," I replied, "that's what you think, sir. But that is your opinion. But I only need 400 votes to win, and I believe I am going to win, and I would like to tell you why." The door opened a little wider, and he stepped out onto the front porch where he invited me to have a seat on the covered swinging chair. As I was saying, I continued, I am going to win this election because, number one, I live in Ward 8 and have for almost 18 years. Number two, I am committing myself to the residents of this ward and my councillor position on a full-time basis, because I believe the issues we have facing us with the Allendale train station, the development Park Place, the development on Cumberland Street, and the annexed lands of Innisfil warrants having someone in a full-time capacity. Meaning that when my feet hit the floor first thing in the morning, my job begins as your councillor, not at the end of the day after my full-time job. Ward 8 needs someone full-time. Number three, I am a community builder. I engage people, I build confidence, and get people excited about what is happening in and around them. And I help them feel that. They play an important part in what we are trying to accomplish. You see, sir, I am not satisfied with only 42% of eligible Ward 8 residents voting in 2010. I want to see this number grow to 50% so we can at least have half of our voices at City Hall. I then went on to say that I am a door opener and have forged many positive relationships by raising over $1 million in my past work experience with several not-for-profit organizations right here in our city. There's no difference in raising $1 million or $3 million. The process and the steps you take are all the same. Number four, I also know about job development and job creation, as I have created several jobs for myself over the years and have helped other organizations and businesses create jobs for local residents. And I did this through the relationships I've built and by utilizing government funding. At this point, the front door opened, and the gentleman's wife stepped out and came over to shake my hand. And as she was shaking my hand, she said, "Thank you for stopping in today, and thank you for introducing yourself. I have read all the literature that has been dropped off thus far, and I wasn't going to vote until now. You have changed my mind, and you can count on my vote. I just hope I didn't cause a domestic." Barrie is becoming future ready, and as a woman who can open doors and build relationships with existing businesses while working towards attracting new investments, we will create the economic conditions we need in order to expand our tax base and lessen the tax burden on us, the taxpayers. I want to stop now.
Hi everybody, thank you very much for coming by and listening what we're going to say, and thank you for waiting for inviting me here. My name is Gulam Jivani. I moved to Barrie 12 years ago, and I had my own business 6 years ago. And my business, every day from one corner to another corner of Barrie, not just Ward 8, to driving, listening to the people, what they want. And also at the same time, my job description, I put my own life toward the risky business I am to save the other people's lives. With the time, and I learned a lot of challenges, a lot of problems people been dealing in this city. It's just crazy. 2,300 people in our city rely on the food bank. Every second to third call in the city of Barrie, police dispatch is working on a domestic, working on a drug-related things, working on some other issues. Not just that, every 10th driver in Barrie don't have a license. 10th driver. And if they have a license, they don't have money to put the insurance on the cars. And I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar. 5 to 6 people jump off the bridge at Bayfield and Dunlop from last year to this year. If you really look at all these problems, what is the issue? Issue is the jobs. Because people don't have a job. People don't have a food to put on the table. So myself, I come up to this point. Okay, why I'm running? Because I care for the people, those who work beside me, the people I work for. What can I do for these people? Which is a really, really sad situation. I come up to the point, the suitable solution for this thing, all of us, our first priority to put the food on the table for these people before we think about any other plan. And I have a very good plan to start with. The annex land we have, Ward 8, we need to design to for the development land. We can create some jobs. And that's my first priority if I got elected. At the same time, how can you bring the new business in the city? It's so many challenges. Like myself, I started my business 6 years ago. I still don't have equal opportunity to make a living. I did talk to the police chief 5 times. I talked to every single counselor. Every single counselor. Everybody knows the situation. But nobody wants to actually solve this problem. That was the biggest reason I am here to run for the city. And the rest up to you guys, who you guys choose. Thank you very much.
Good evening, and thank you all for coming out. My name is Vicki Howe. I am your neighbor, and I would like to ask for your vote to represent us as Councillor of Ward 8 in the City of Barrie. I have been a resident of Barrie for over 35 years, watching the city grow from 30 to well over 120,000 residents. My husband and I have lived in Ward 8 over 15 years and have raised our 2 sons there. My concerns are very similar to most of yours. Rising utility costs, traffic congestion, user fees, public transportation, smart growth, job creation, and public safety, just to name a few. Community passion and involvement is just the first step. I am not just talk when it comes to the motto of getting involved. I live it. I am passionate about Barrie and have proven so by being very actively involved through various groups and organizations for many, many years. My accomplishments and involvement include board member and president of Tourism Barrie, board member and president of Barrie's Golden Mile BIA, board member of Barrie Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown BIA, City of Barrie Economic Development Advisory Committee member, and Economic Development Council of Ontario as a judge, as well as Allendale Heights, Warnica School, and Innisdale School Council as council chair and council member. Boy Scouts of Canada, Beaver and Cub leader, Big Brothers Big Sisters, and the Rotary Club of Barrie as an active committee member on various initiatives. And Habitat for Humanity as a Build volunteer, as well as the publicity chair for the RCMP's Racing Against Drugs. I have been fortunate to work in Barrie for over 30 years. My professional knowledge and skills include finance, developing and allocation of annual budgets for large businesses, marketing, as well as project management. I bring all these skills and expertise to you as your next councillor of Ward 8. I believe the keys to a successful city councillor are to be part of the community they choose to represent, accessibility, be well informed with up-to-date information, and be a source of positive influence rather than power. To listen more and talk less. With your vote, I will assure balance that is needed around the council table. I will be your strong voice to continue improving our community. On December 3rd, please vote for Vicky Howe.
Good evening, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I will reference some notes with your permission. My name is R.F. Khan, and I moved to Barrie back in 2001. My family has been long-standing members of Ward 8, Allendale Heights in particular, since 1978. We've developed long roots in the community, deep roots in the community, and we take a huge amount of pride and passion in the area that we live and choose to serve. We also own a business in our ward, so we invest in our ward, we live in our ward, we employ people in our ward personally. We also invest further in our ward in other initiatives that we take pride in, namely real estate. When we heard that Ms. Robinson couldn't fulfill her commitment, we also heard that there was a potential that City Council would consider an appointment for the position. And that didn't sit very well with me personally, and it didn't sit well with my neighbors. So we decided to take action. So the question being, why am I choosing to run? I chose to run because I choose to represent my neighborhood. After years of theoretical representation from councillors who had no vested interest in our ward, it became clear that apathy was not an answer. That's another reason why I really chose to run. I've spent the last 2 months meeting and listening to neighbors, to our neighbors in our ward. A friend of mine told me, it's not a matter of how much you say. It really doesn't matter what you say. It's are you willing to listen? It's not my message that you want to hear. It's your message that you expect me to hear. So every door that I've been knocking on, I've knocked on personally. I may not be the fastest. I hope I'll get to each of you. In time I will. But I've knocked on every door and taken the time not to just drop off literature to you, but to actually take the time to sit and listen to what your concerns are. After all, once again, you're not choosing a representative to go and act on your behalf and share their great ideas. You want a representative who will listen to you, counsel with you regularly, take your thoughts, prioritize them, quantify them, and come up with a plan. And then, of course, remain accountable to you. Our neighbors made it clear that we want a representative from within our ward, one with the knowledge and the business skill sets to be able to comprehend the matters at hand. That's key, and that's something that I bring to the table. There are many issues facing us in Ward 8. For starters, Ward 8 is an extremely diverse ward. As your council and council member and councillor, I will represent every resident fairly and equally without bias. The residents of historic Allendale, in which I am a stakeholder, have our concerns. We have concerns of aging infrastructure. We have concerns of community safety and vandalism. We have concerns about drugs running rampant on our corners and massage parlors that continue to pop up to the same extent that Hamilton has Tim Hortons. We have the concerns of preservation of our history in our ward here. The train station, with my background in law, I understand this firsthand. The train station's going under some current litigation. I have plans for that that'll allow progress to move ahead now, even with the certificates of pending litigation on the land. I also have a goal in mind to assist the Art Club of Barrie to find a permanent home within those lands at the train station, as well as to relocate the Sports Hall of Fame and to create an area of history to be celebrated in historic Allendale with the train museum. These are all social ideas. These are all ideas that we can be proud of with our heritage in Barrie, but there does have to be a revenue-generating approach to the train station lands as well. And with my background in economics, I can bring that to the table. I live in Allendale Heights. Community safety and traffic congestion, aging infrastructure, and traffic safety and crosswalks, those are all issues. And Shalom Park and Heritage Estates, newer areas of Barrie, well, they felt abandoned. You felt abandoned, and I hear you, and I promise to represent you. But the bottom line is that our ward needs someone with a financial, economic, accounting, and law degree backgrounds, not a degree, excuse me, let me retract that, I apologize, to be able to represent us while at council. Thank you for your time.
I'm okay. 25 years of broadcasting leads to microphones. My name is Don McNeil. I will try to be quick. David already said he's the youngest, and I'm 40, he has a curfew. So, I'm a long-time resident of Ward 8, and I know the ward because I've lived all over. I've lived on William Street, I've lived on Carroll Road, I've lived in McConkey Place and currently reside on Highcroft Road. I have deep involvement in my community. I believe that social activism involves more than just buying a $5 hot dog every once in a while. As chair of the David Busby Street Center, I was involved with the United Way throughout the city, throughout the county, with the Council of Canadians, involved in a national campaign, the Blue Communities Campaign, where we spoke to many municipalities about getting rid of these. Also with the, I'm just kidding her. I picked on him, I gotta pick on you. And of course with the Allendale Neighborhood Association, I've worked locally as well. Again, I'll try to be as quick as I can. What we need here is not someone who needs a job, who wants to get a job. We need someone who wants to get the job done. And it is important. And someone said it earlier today, that don't vote for what's in it for us. Vote for what's in it for you. I think this is what's important. You need someone who's local. Neighbors matter. Local matters. And let's show City Hall that Ward 8 matters. Because I think right now we're being ignored a little bit. We have an empty chair, and I think they are bypassing us. And I think we need to show them with a strong show of support at the door, or at the ballot, on whether you vote in the election day on December the 3rd, or you go to the polls on the 24th or the 27th. We need to show City Hall that we care. We don't need a low turnout, because they'll just, we might as well send another empty chair. And that's what's going on. We need that. I did say neighbors matter, local matters. Other things we've talked about, and we've heard it, infrastructure. We've talked about that, jobs, accessibility, accountability. But the number one issue is, and you'll hear it time and time again, it might not be the first thing that people say at the door, but someone will eventually bring it up, and it is road safety. It's the safety of our streets. And we need safe streets. I myself on Highcroft Road earlier this year, someone was resealing their driveway. It's a big double driveway, so they parked a fifth wheel in front of it to keep people off. And a neighbor across the street complained to me about it, and I said, well, you can call bylaw enforcement, or you can look at it as a traffic calming measure, because it cut the street down to one lane. It actually worked for us. My friend Nick, who lives over on Holgate, that road looks like it was built in the Civil War. And he said the good news is at least it's a natural traffic calming measure. So this is the number one thing that people are talking about, is road safety. The safety of our children, the safety of our streets, the fact that we have no sidewalks. Vicky lives on Glenridge. If you have to walk, if you have a child who goes down to St. John Vianney, if you want to go down towards that area, There's not a sidewalk. There's not one all the way from Bayview until you get to Essa Road. You won't see a sidewalk. And these are things that we have to invest in. We're investing in our community. We're investing in our kids. And I think that a good investment would be a vote for Don McNeil on December 3rd. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. And I too would like to start off by thanking Bill and the Allendale Neighborhood Association for organizing tonight's All Candidates meeting. I wish to begin to briefly tell you about myself, my background. I'm a Barrie boy, born and raised. I've served 13 years on City Council, elected and re-elected to 4 terms of office. I have a solid track record for doing my best to represent the views and best interests of the people, of not just my own neighborhood, but all neighborhoods throughout our community. I believe we must always place the public interest over special interests. This is why many people of Allendale turn to me for support in standing up and opposing the ill-fated YMCA in the waterfront, the so-called mistake by the lake. I also led the charge in City Council a few years ago against allowing the proposed ethanol plant on the former Molson site because I knew this would be detrimental for the health and well-being of Allendale residents. When people in Allendale could not get help from their own council member, I was there to lend a hand. Some of you may have heard that I, along with some of the other candidates, live outside of Ward 8. This is a factor to consider. However, an even more important factor, which you should consider, is the need to elect a candidate with a working knowledge of the issues we are facing. This is a midterm by-election. Only 2 years remain. We need to elect a councillor for Allendale who can hit the ground running. Major questions are now facing Ward 8. Decisions must be made soon after this by-election on issues ranging from the future use of the Allendale station to major planning and development approvals for the newly acquired lands at the south end. I want to set aside more new land for job creation. I want to help our citizens get full-time employment and jobs for our youth so they can stay in our community. I will work to put in place smart growth plans that include guaranteed protection for environmentally sensitive lands. I want to continue, as I have on previous councils, to acquire additional waterfront land around the lake and keep it for public use. As far as I'm concerned, Bayview Park, or any park in Barrie, is not for sale to special interests. I want to assist in the construction of additional housing for seniors and our aging population. As former chair of Development Services Committee, I helped to lower taxes on the building of seniors housing, such as the IOOF. I want to see a cap on water and sewer rate increases that have recently skyrocketed. Growth should pay for growth, not hard-working existing taxpayers. Experience does matter. Former Mayor Janice Laking always used to say that it takes at least 2 years just to learn how to do the job of city councillor, and there are only 2 years remaining in this term. You may say that I've already been paper trained for this position on council. As a history teacher at Barrie Central Collegiate for 23 years, I've taught many of your children. I was living in Allendale and a witness to the tornado that devastated so many homes and lives in our community. Those of us who were here that tragic day in 1985 will always remember, but we will also always remember how Allendale and all of Barrie came together that day to help each other out and rebuild our community. I know so many people in Allendale, friends, co-workers, neighbors, parents, students. Some of us have known each other for decades. Some of us are now striking out new friendships. But the key thing that we share in common is the love for our community and the desire to work together to achieve the best local government possible. Ladies and gentlemen, the decision is yours, and I hope that you choose Mike Ramsey. Thank you.
Steve Mallon is the other candidate, as I'm sure you all know. Unfortunately, he had to be at a conference which is critical to his company, and so he couldn't make it. But he sent a statement, and you can time it, and I will read you the statement he sent me. He starts, "I would just like to take this opportunity at this time to let you know a little about me. I have been living in Barrie now for over 25 years. I am a father. I have a loving wife. I am fortunate to have two great children who of course can be challenging at ages 8 and 11, boy Caden and girl Emma. I am fortunate to have a wife who has given up a lot to raise children. We also own and operate a business in Ward 7 and Ward 8 and hire only Barrie residents. The community has stood by me in my many ventures. For me, I am a 42-year-old person with the drive to succeed, a person that owns a business that will have the opportunity to offer jobs to our young, excuse me, and to maintain a flow of job opportunities to those who wish to work long into their senior years. I started small. Learning curves ensure expense and small failures happen, and I guess we can call that learning business. So the question arises, why do I think I can make a difference for this ward? I see growth. Growth for our children, for small businesses, for college students with ideas, for teenagers who want good education and social skills to develop, and the continued growth of our existing businesses. This is such a diversified ward that it offers all. We do need to look at some of the problems that exist. Let us look at these problems, starting with our children. Bullying. We need to understand why bullies are here. Ask the question, and it comes to schooling, parenting, community, and social upbringing. We need to change attitudes. Let our children come to work, make decisions, and understand the consequences of their decisions. Schooling starts the training, but life in the working fields gives knowledge. Unfortunately, kids grow up too quickly, and sometimes family financial needs take precedence to proper child development. We need to bring our children into our everyday activities. They need to know who we are as parents, and we need to encourage our young to develop their ideas. We need to open up avenues for encouraging growth in entrepreneurship. We do this by looking at ways to give tax breaks to businesses that wish to hire. Give the right for existing businesses to challenge the status quo and encourage all ideas of all people, young and old, to experience financial growth. We need to look at ideas for repair and growth in respect to infrastructure. Congestion on our roads is a nightmare. I would like a comprehensive look to future growth through a committee, not from the government, but by the citizens of this ward. We must all understand that government rules, but citizens can change the rules. We need to look at the cost of living. Food prices are on the rise, mortgage and rent through the roof, gas is at unbelievable prices. As more businesses develop in this ward, the city gets more taxes and more money in their pocket. We, as residents, should get a little back off our household taxes. Our bus transportation system needs to be upgraded. More routes should be covered with less waiting time. This would lead to increased usage of the bus service and ease some congestion so that we all win. I live, play, and work in this community, as I am sure most of you do. We need to speak with one strong voice and get our concerns addressed in council. I will listen to those concerns, and if elected, I will ensure that they get heard and debated in council. The people of this ward know what needs to be improved more than the government, so I ask for your support. I ask you to elect me to be your voice in council. Now, I don't need to be clapping. I'm just a mouthpiece. 5 minutes, please.